Former Bolingbrook police officer Drew Peterson has been arrested for the murder of his third wife, Kathleen Savio. Peterson is also a suspect in the disappearance of fourth wife, Stacy.
I can look right in your eye and say I had nothing to do with either of those incidences.
Drew Peterson appeared to relish the attention of the media he attracted.
There was a bunch of girls around him. He was enjoying the attention.
I was attracted to Drew Peterson because of his personality.
I believed in his innocence. I was attracted to him, all the power he had.
I was engaged to Drew Peterson.
I am the ex-girlfriend of Drew Peterson.
My feelings for him was enough to look the other way.
They just didn't know the Drew Peterson that I knew.
He told his friends, I think I found wife number 5.
Drew's really good at making you believe it. Waking up naked in his bed, not having any memory, and then later on finding those photos.
What are you even doing here? Are you still engaged to Drew?
None of your business, okay?
Drew was very flirtatious. He always said the right things. I stood by him. I didn't feel that it was anyone's business.
I really didn't care what people thought. I didn't. I was happy he was happy.
We always had a private room. If we weren't in a jail, I don't know what he would have done.
I was shocked. I thought he was joking. And I told him I didn't want to hear anymore.
This is the first time I've told my whole story.
He texted me. He was like, what are you doing on his lap? How do you even know? He was like, I'm looking through your window.
I heard what he said. It was just the way he said it, and it literally gave me goosebumps.
He actually tried to show me the trick how to snap someone's neck within seconds.
And that's what he did to Stacy.
Can we take a break?
Of course. Can you step out?
10 years now. It eats at me, you know. There's stuff that we talked about, and there's stuff that I do know that's personal that I still denied. I'm ready to share my truth and move on.
In the autumn of 2007, the attention of law enforcement and the national media is focused on Bolingbrook, Illinois Police Sergeant Drew Peterson, whose young wife, Stacy Peterson, has mysteriously gone missing. Drew is a suspect in the disappearance because his previous wife, Kathleen Savio, was found dead in her bathtub in 2004. And although the death was originally ruled an accidental drowning, an examination of her exhumed body reveals blunt force trauma to the head, and Kathleen's death is ruled a homicide. A confident Drew Peterson, seemingly relishing the media attention, declares he is innocent of wrongdoing in either case. The following summer, 24-year-old Bolingbrook waitress Christina Raines and her sister Kimberly encounter Drew Peterson at a bar. It would be a fateful event that would destroy lives forever.
I never knew like how much my life would change.
Both Christina and her sister had been acquainted with the charismatic police officer since they were children.
I first met Drew when I was 15. I got in a little bit of trouble, and Drew was one of the responding officers.
He picked my daughter up for skipping school. Called me at work and said he had her detained, come down to the station and talk to her and I'll let her go home. I go, okay. And I went down to the Bolingbrook police station, met with Drew Peterson, and went there and talked to her, and then we went home.
And that's how I met Drew. And he would always, you know, be around in the neighborhood that I lived in.
One night in 2003, Christina and her father have a strange encounter with Drew's fourth wife, Stacy.
Me and Chrissy went to the Bolingbrook laundromat, and Stacy Peterson was in there. At the time, I didn't know, who she was. And we were talking. She started pulling out his shirts, and I said, "Oh, you doing your dad's clothes?" Well, just as I said that, Drew Peterson walked in the door, and Stacy Peterson turned around. She said, "No, it's not my dad. It's my husband." Then Drew Peterson looked up at me and gave me a hard look. I stared back, gave him a hard look.
My dad was talking with his wife, Stacy, and I guess Drew was a little bit jealous. Every time I seen her, you know, she was really quiet, didn't say much.
By the time Christina turns 24, the neighborhood police officer who once detained her for skipping school is under suspicion for murdering his third and fourth wives. It's been almost 5 years since Christina last saw Drew, and with all the national press attention, he's becoming something of a local celebrity.
You shouldn't be on my property. Maybe it's not my property, you're trespassing.
In August 2008, Christina encounters Drew again, but this time without her dad.
My sister and I and some friends of mine went to a club called Blur.
Chrissy and Kimmy were like twins. You see one, you see the other. They're shadows. They went out for a birthday at the club. Drew was in there. And he told his friends, "I think I found wife number 5.
Drew Peterson tapped me on the back, and I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" You know, and he was in the club with a few of his friends as well. And he told me, he was like, "Wow, I can't believe, you know, how pretty you came to be."
This is, boy, you've grown up since I seen you last. I heard he snuck his phone number in her pocket.
We exchanged numbers. My sister got really upset because I continued through the night talking with Drew.
My young daughter is like me. You wanted to take her out. My young daughter goes, "No."
Drew wanted to hang out after the club, but my sister was not having it. She thought that Drew had murdered his wife. And she told Drew, "My sister's not going anywhere with you, or I'm gonna call my dad."
Drew Peterson's wife, Stacy, has been missing for approximately 10 months. And although he's named as suspect, the investigation is ongoing, and Drew remains a free man. But none of that seems to deter Christina.
I really didn't care what people thought. I didn't.
And then they started seeing each other.
Christina begins a romantic relationship with Drew, more than 30 years her senior, fully aware of media reports that he is a suspect in both Kathleen Savio's murder and Stacy Peterson's disappearance.
I was attracted to Drew Peterson because of his personality.
In speaking of Drew now, Christina often slips into present tense.
He likes to joke around a lot, laugh, always upbeat.
While Christina's relationship with her dad is a close one, he worked long hours when his daughters were growing up.
The mom left when they were young. When she left, I took care of both of them. It was hard. Me working 2 jobs was away a lot, you know.
On just her second date with Drew, Christina discovers his sinister and dangerous nature. The frightening incident is revealed here for the first time, both in a private journal written by Christina and by Christina herself.
When he took me out on the date, we were not intimate at that time. And he was trying to get me up in his room to watch a movie. I felt uncomfortable, you know, in the beginning. And when I woke up, I didn't have any clothes on and I was in his bed naked. and I had no memory of what happened. I'm like, the hell out of, you know, why am I naked? Like, I freaked out. And he was like, nothing happened. He's like, I just wanted you to be comfortable. I got really angry at him. And I asked him, what did you put in my drink? I accused him of that, and he denied it.
Christina ignores the red flag and her intuition. Drew's wife vanished less than a year prior, and he's still the main suspect. But Christina continues to date the charming ex-cop. And in a matter of months, they take their relationship to the next level when Christina moves into Drew's home.
So when I moved in, I came across a camera that he had, and it was me, naked. He took photos of me naked, and I had my eyes closed. I felt uncomfortable seeing, you know, myself unconscious in those pictures. I kept thinking, you know, who does stuff like this?
Christina musters up the courage and confronts Drew.
He was like, I just wanted, you know, to be comfortable, and you look so peaceful. I just took some pictures, you know. I'm like, who does that? Yeah, I was really upset at that. He apologized. But by that time, after I moved in, we were already intimate, so. Drew's really good at making you believe him. I'm really good at that. So I started asking myself, like, okay, you know, am I in the wrong for screaming, yelling at him about finding these photos? You know, he was like, I'll never touch you or do anything to you like that, you know. He was offended.
Incredibly, the two get engaged shortly afterward.
Yeah. It's this one right here.
Yeah.
You see? That's Drew's house.
By January 2009, mere months after meeting in the club, Christina and Drew are living together in the same house Drew shared with fourth wife, Stacy Peterson, now missing.
I was feeling kind of awkward in the beginning. All around his house was pictures of Stacy, and it was like she never left. But he kept reassuring me I had nothing to worry about, and he even offered to take her pictures down. And I had told him no, it was fine.
Anybody that loses their wife, a month later wouldn't move somebody else in. They'd be grieving, looking for their wife. He wasn't.
Despite the negative press and warnings from family, Christina stands by her man.
I guess I didn't want to believe it, you know, that he had harmed Stacy.
Christina's sister, Kimberly, tries her best to change her siblings' mind about Drew.
My sister, very upset. At one point, she had tried to make me choose between her and Drew. You know, she finally accepted it, but she didn't like him at all. She did not care for Drew at all.
But Christina, already mentally ensnared in Drew Peterson's clutches, is in for more than one surprise.
We exchanged phone numbers. We started dating. I think he was seeing Christina at the time.
Are you aware of who Nicole Speakman is?
January 2009. 24-year-old Christina Rains becomes engaged to and moves in with suspected wife killer Drew Peterson. And while she is aware her fiancé is the #1 suspect in his wife's mysterious disappearance, Christina's apparent denial is on display in a February 2009 interview on The Today Show.
How would you describe the Drew that you know versus the Drew that other people have seen portrayed in the media?
Very kind and loving. Very nice. He makes me laugh.
Christina is clearly uncomfortable viewing the interview today.
What if he is guilty? What do you say to those people?
I'm running the other way. I'm just joking. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it.
He would make jokes about the media, all the attention that he was getting.
Look, I have this young girl here with me. If she thinks I did that, would she be here?
He was so upbeat and so positive about everything, you know? It was like nothing really bothered him. He really didn't show any emotion or anything like that.
But living with Drew is far from paradise.
I moved out like 3 times, moved back in.
The two argue. Christina is uncomfortable in the house and in the bed Drew shared with his missing wife.
Yeah, come and get my daughter's stuff. Her dad. No, I want to do it now. I went right up to the door. He wouldn't come out.
No, I want her stuff out now, Drew. Don't play games, okay? You're fooling with the wrong guy. Don't play games, Drew.
Christina watches from the car.
I want her stuff out of here. I'll bring the police. I'm calling 911.
Dad! Oh my God, Dad!
He wants to be in control of everything.
Drew was obviously upset because he didn't want me to leave. You know, my stuff was still in the house and he didn't want me to go.
For Christina's father, Ernest, the stress of dealing with his daughter's affair with Drew Peterson lands him in the hospital.
I was worried about her.
Christina moves out and stays with an ex-boyfriend. But Drew's clutches simply dig in further, and in a frightening way.
Me and my ex-boyfriend were just friends at that time. And Drew texted me. He was like, "What are you doing on his lap?" I jumped off real quick. I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, how do you even know?" He was like, "I'm looking through your window." So, I mean, yeah, I would say he had trust issues. I mean, there was a lot of red flags.
A big one waves when Christina musters up the courage to ask Drew what he believes happened to Stacy.
What would he say?
That she took $25,000 in cash and a couple bikinis and took off. And I knew better than that, though. All of her stuff was still there. Everything, I mean, stuff that, you know, you would take with you if you were leaving. I mean, her whole wardrobe, prescriptions, her cell phone, everything was there.
When discussing the exhumation of third wife Kathleen Savio's remains for forensic analysis, Drew drops this shocker on Christina.
He would crack jokes like, "I should have cremated her."
Christina discovers that jewelry Drew had given her had once belonged to his former wives. She discovers a photograph in a tabloid showing Stacy Peterson wearing the same cross Drew had gifted her. She fears the engagement ring she received was that of Drew's dead third wife, Kathleen Savio. Yet Christina keeps coming back to Drew.
She moved out and then went back and then moved back in again, moved out. They lured her right back into the trap.
My feelings for him was enough to, you know, look the other way.
While Drew and Christina are living together, Drew meets another young woman at a bar near Chicago. Her name is Nicole Speakman.
I'm Nicole Speakman, and I am the ex-girlfriend of Drew Peterson. When I met Drew, I had no idea how much it would change my life. This is the first time I've told my whole story. The night I met Drew, we were in a bar, me and a couple of my girlfriends. I was 23 at the time. I'm the same age as Stacy. There was a bunch of girls around him. He was cutting up and laughing. You could tell he was like enjoying the attention. When I walked back from the bathroom, I nudged him. It was an accident, and we started talking for a little bit. I said, "Aren't you the guy in the media?" He thought that was funny. I mean, I think he liked the attention he was getting. I think he was pretty much attracted to any younger woman that spoke to him.
Nicole is aware of media reports of Drew's and Christina's relationship.
I think he was seeing Christina at the time.
But Christina is unaware of Nicole. In fact, this interview is the first time Christina learns that Drew was simultaneously seeing another woman.
Are you aware of who Nicole Speakman is?
No.
He never heard Drew talk about Nicole?
No.
She was friends with him before his arrest and dated him after the arrest.
Oh, I lived with Drew all the way up until he was arrested.
Yeah. She said she knew who you were, but that's why I wasn't sure if you knew who she was.
Oh. A little aggravated when you asked me about Nicole. I mean, a little bit. I feel a little betrayed. I used to get kind of like upset at Drew because when we'd go out, you know, the girls would just flock to him for some reason.
Remarkably, Drew's relationship with both women begins almost identically.
We exchanged phone numbers. We started dating. My impression of Drew was that he was kind of cocky, and I didn't think he seemed very concerned about his wife being missing. He didn't act like he was worried about her at all. She was just a kid when they got together, so I figured she got tired of being with an older person, raising 4 kids. She wanted out, you know? And he told me if she was smart, she would come out and go on the Oprah Winfrey Show, because Oprah would pay her like $2 million. If she was smart, that's what she would do.
Like Christina, Nicole takes Drew at his word when he declares his innocence.
Drew was very flirtatious. He was very kind. He always said the right things. I was attracted to him. I mean, he's had a great personality. You can carry on a conversation with him. He's funny. I firmly believed in him. I believed in his innocence. I felt for him. I really did.
But something is about to happen that will dramatically affect the almost godlike power Drew wields over both Nicole and Christina. Mere months after Nicole Speakman meets Drew Peterson, prosecutors have gathered enough evidence to charge the former cop with the murder of his 3rd wife, Kathleen Savio. Drew is arrested on May 7th, 2009, and his bail is set at $20 million.
I don't even think he thought he was going to be arrested. When he did get arrested, I mean, he didn't think it was going to stick. I really genuinely felt bad. I mean, I didn't think he was guilty.
While Nicole is confident, Christina is confused and frightened when her world is suddenly and unexpectedly upended.
He had told me that he was going to be arrested that day. He was like, do you see how the media is making room? He's like, they're always on this side of the street, you know, so he knew it was coming because he was arrested that day on his way to the bank. I knew there was a good chance that he was going to go away for the rest of his life if he was convicted. And next thing I knew, I was being carried out of work by 8 state troopers.
Christina is questioned and eventually released, but at her first opportunity, less than a week later, she visits Drew in jail, and upon leaving, she is ambushed by the media.
What are you even doing here?
It's none of your business, okay?
Are you still engaged to Drew?
I was angry, very angry, because Drew went to jail and was arrested. So I was a lot of emotions.
He promised her he was getting out and everything's gonna be fine.
We had letters back and forth the whole summer he was in jail, but I mostly did visits to see him.
But unbeknownst to Christina, Drew has a new love in his life, Nicole Speakman, who was also visiting him in jail.
He was with Christina. He talked to me about her a couple times. He told me that her father was trying to break them up, and it was just becoming a real big headache.
Nicole, like Christina, is strangely enraptured by what was, at the time, an accused but not convicted wife killer. Also like Christina, Nicole seems unfazed by a series of bizarre warning signs.
He just would always tell me, like, what to wear. He would want you to wear a certain thing. He wanted you to, like, walk a certain way. He would straight up tell you that, too. You could tell he was insecure and jealous. Like, he would, like, call me and want to know where I was at, what I was doing. Sometimes his sense of humor is just, it's dark. It really is. Like, the things he would find funny. Like, he would go on and on about him having the same publicist as Casey Anthony, about how he was working one day and found a dead baby in a dumpster, and he laughed about it. I don't know anyone that would find that kind of thing funny.
But 3 years later, Nicole is still in a relationship with Drew when his trial begins in July of 2012. Drew even entrusts Nicole to safeguard his trial transcripts and other sensitive information relative to his defense. And in Drew's letters, Peterson refers to Nicole as baby cakes. He tells her, quote, "Don't be afraid to talk dirty to me. I could use the romance." In another letter, he asks Nicole to send him pictures of her wearing lingerie. "Just don't show any private parts," he writes, "or they won't let me have them. I could care less about the stretch marks."
Drew told me that there was a lot of females that would write him and that were attracted to him, and the ones that, were like hitting on him and stuff. He made him aware of me and him's relationship. So whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I've never heard anything different.
While Nicole remained steadfast in her loyalty to Drew, one of the most baffling questions in Christina's affair with Drew is how she was able to disregard what was becoming more and more clear to her: that Drew was a wife killer. Did she feel empathy toward the victims?
He would always make them to be the bad guy in the relationship. So I put this wall up, towards Kathleen and towards Stacy. So I felt nothing.
But after years of worship-like allegiance to Drew Peterson and denial of his crimes, Christina now believes she knows exactly what happened to Drew's fourth wife, Stacy Peterson, who has been missing since 2007. Christina has never publicly shared this information before. She is reticent, even with Drew locked away in prison.
What if he gets upset?
Huh?
What if he becomes upset?
Who gets upset?
Drew. For saying what he did.
You worried about him? You got me. Got nothing to worry about.
Can we take a break?
Of course. Can you step out?
In July 2012, the trial of Drew Peterson begins after he's charged with murdering third wife, Kathleen Savio. Hearsay testimony that includes Kathleen's letters to authorities while she was alive, warning of Drew's violent behavior, and slews of witness accounts are admitted in court. 2 months later, on September 6, the Bolingbrook, Illinois ex-cop is found guilty and later sentenced to 38 years in prison. He is suspected in the disappearance of his fourth wife, Stacy Peterson, whose body has never been found. Both before his conviction and after, he has maintained romantic relationships with several women, most notably Christina Rains and Nicole Speakman.
After he was found guilty, I cried when I went to go see him.
Reflecting on that visit in her journal dated February 18th, 2013, Christina writes that Drew looks ashamed and guilty and acknowledges that Drew has played her from the start. But for Nicole, Drew Peterson's conviction does nothing to stifle her ever-closening relationship with him. In fact, it seems to have the opposite effect.
After he was found guilty of the Kathleen Savio murder, we got more serious and I stood by him. It was easy for me to be in a relationship with Drew because I really thought that he was gonna be let out. I didn't think that they were gonna be able to hold that verdict. I really thought that they'd throw it out. For one, I believed he was innocent. I don't feel his trial with Kathleen I don't feel it was fair. I asked him more than once if he killed Stacy or Kathleen, and he would laugh and say, well, no.
Nicole's prison visits to Drew are frequent, but their privacy is limited, and sex is out of the question.
There was no conjugal visits. We always had a private room, like a big private visiting room, like separate. And it was just like a table about as big as this one, and he'd have to sit on one end and I'd have to sit on the other. There was no guard in there or anything. There were just cameras.
Nicole and Drew exchange letters often. Letters written by Drew are initially positive. He uses the term sweetie, tells her to relax, and assures her that when the truth comes out, quote, you will be free. But for Nicole, everything seems to change when Drew makes a Freudian slip.
One time, I had to have a tooth done, and he said his exact words was, Stacy had nice teeth. And I was like, had? I was like, what do you mean? And he told me, he's like, I paid for her to get breast implants. I paid for her to get braces. I said, but had was past tense. Wouldn't she have nice teeth? He's like, no, she has nice teeth. He tried to play it off like he didn't say what he said. I heard what he said, and it literally gave me goosebumps. He's very, very strong. There's this place in your hand, I'll never forget this. He's like, there's a place in your hand, you just gotta press the right way and it'll drop anybody to the ground. And I was like, nuh-uh, well, he did it to me, and yeah. I don't know how to do it. And I've tried, and but he did it. Like, he just grabbed my hand and did it. I mean, I know that if he wanted to hurt someone, he could.
As time passes, Nicole becomes disillusioned about Drew's prospects for being released. Dating a convicted murderer, it seems, is becoming emotionally unsatisfying.
When you're dating an inmate, I guess there's really not a whole lot, to look forward to unless you know there was an out date.
One common theme in both Nicole and Christina's stories is that they fear disappointing Drew.
I missed 2 visits in a row. I went there for 2 weeks. And the 3rd visit, that's when he just started jerking his head and clenching his hands together and shaking them. It's like, I'm really disappointed. And you're just like, I could just tell if we weren't in a jail, it would have been, I don't know what he would have done, you know?
When Nicole's contact with Drew becomes less frequent, his demeanor in his letters changes. He writes, I got your letter a few months ago and promptly returned one to you. I haven't heard from you since. I hope that you got my letter and that it didn't get lost.
I began to question the relationship between me and Drew whenever he told me what a disappointment I was and started sending my letters back if I went in there for a visit.
Christina Rains, still technically engaged to Drew Peterson, begins seeing someone else. But she refuses to officially sever ties with the convicted killer.
I did admit that I was seeing somebody. I never said to him that we were done.
Unlike Nicole, Christina has been convinced of Drew's guilt for some time, and only now is she ready to reveal the horrible knowledge she's kept bottled inside her for more than a decade.
I'm ready to share my truth and move on.
And after all the warning signs, it takes a murder threat from Drew's own mouth for Nicole to get the wake-up call she desperately needs.
Told him what you said, just the green light, basically go ahead and kill him. All right.
Christina Rains, who is engaged to convicted wife killer Drew Peterson both before and after his arrest, is finally ready to share what she has kept inside for years. The truth about exactly what happened to Drew's 4th wife, Stacey Peterson. Kathleen Savio, Drew's 3rd wife, was found dead in her bathtub in 2004. In Christina's private journal, she recounts how Drew told her, quote, he couldn't take it anymore. Kathleen's death is originally ruled a drowning, but upon Stacey's disappearance, Kathleen's body is exhumed and her manner of death ruled a homicide. Drew is convicted of Kathleen's murder in 2012, but Stacey is still considered a missing person to this day. According to Christina, Stacey was aware that Drew had killed Kathleen, and that knowledge is what doomed her.
The night Kathleen was found, Stacey was his alibi for that night.
So he admitted to you that he had killed Kathleen Savio and that Stacey was his alibi?
Yeah. It was a lot to take in. Stacey was pretty much trying to hold that over his head and tell on him.
Stacey and Drew were reportedly in the midst of bitter discussions about a divorce.
He tried to reason with her, and she was not having it. And it wasn't going to work.
So what did he do when he realized it wasn't going to work?
He got rid of her. Put her in a chokehold. He actually tried to show me the trick how to snap someone's neck within seconds.
And that's what he did to Stacey?
That's exactly what he did to her.
Investigators believe Drew then placed Stacy's body in a blue barrel and dumped it at a location known only to Drew.
He drove about 2.5 hours away from where he lived.
If true, Stacy's remains could be located anywhere within an area of tens of thousands of square miles. Extensive searches have been made by law enforcement and all available leads have been followed, but to no avail. But Drew's ability to commit crimes is not impeded by prison walls. In fact, the danger he still poses to the public is something that Nicole will learn all too well when she's unexpectedly and mysteriously subpoenaed by authorities.
Why would I need to be subpoenaed to a court date? It's like, what is this even about? You know, I couldn't figure it out. And I was like, why in the hell do they have him wrapped in chains like a mummy? He couldn't move. I mean, so I knew he had done something bad. And the guards wouldn't tell me. When I left, I tried to ask them and nobody would tell me anything.
What they're not telling her is that Drew was charged with attempting to hire a hitman to murder his prosecutor, County State's Attorney James Glasgow. When he tells Nicole he is innocent, she again believes him.
My thoughts were, surely he's not that stupid.
That is, until she hears a secret recording made of Drew in the prison yard at the Menard Correctional Center.
Told that you said that just the green light, that basically go ahead and kill him. Right. That's what you wanted, right? Ain't no turning back. Okay.
First time we talked about it, there was no turning back. If I get some booze in here, we'll celebrate that.
Nicole is enraged.
I was in disbelief. Like, that's my gut, started turning. I'm just like, what? You know, this has all been a lie. When we were sitting there talking about his appeals and being together and him getting out, and we had all these plans, he was trying to hire someone to kill the prosecutor that put him in jail behind my back. I mean, that's some serious betrayal. It definitely confirmed to me that he's capable of killing someone, because everything I thought that I knew about him proved to me that it was nothing but a lie.
This revelation for Nicole is the final straw.
It just confirmed to me that he's definitely capable of taking someone's life from them and having no remorse and then lying about it. All the power he had went to his head, and he thought that he was pretty much untouchable.
Both Christina and Nicole have finally found the strength to break free of Drew Peterson's spell. But years of manipulation and control can take a while to undo. Where are Christina and Nicole today? And will the wreckage that Drew left in his wake be permanent?
Oh, I still care for him, despite what he has done.
And what penalty will Drew Peterson pay for his latest attempt at snuffing out human life? In 2016, Drew Peterson is found guilty of plotting to hire a hitman from prison to murder his prosecutor, County State's Attorney James Glasgow. He is given an additional 40 years on top of the 38 years he is already serving for killing ex-wife Kathleen Savio.
I would just like people to know that I don't have anything to do with him. I don't talk to him. I 100% think that he is where he should be for what he done. I believe that Drew should spend his life behind bars. You know, he took 2 mothers away from their children.
Nicole says Drew has done lasting damage to her ability to maintain positive relationships with people.
A lesson that I learned from being with Drew Peterson was that I don't trust anybody. I really don't. I find myself looking at people and trying to find a hole in everything that they say. I guess it's like a defense mechanism.
If Nicole could speak to Drew again, what would she ask him?
If I could have another conversation with Drew, I'd ask him why. I don't believe that he's innocent at all. I just regret what has happened and what he done, and that I was involved with such a tragic event, you know? It was not worth it to be a part of his life.
Yet, despite her absolute belief in his guilt, remnants of Drew's power over her appear to linger.
I don't know. I mean, I know once in a while, I mean, I'll Google him to see if there's anything that has happened. I mean, it's not that I care. I don't know how to explain it. I just wonder, you know, about him.
To this day, Christina Rains has never said her goodbyes to Drew Peterson. Neither she nor Drew thought that her last visit to see him on February 18th, 2013 would be their last.
Had you told him at that time, this is the last time I'll see you?
No.
So was there ever any sense of closure?
No.
That's because, despite it all, Drew's hold on Christina's heart is relentless.
Oh, I still care for him, you know, despite what he has done.
She's coming back, slowly, surely. She's coming back. Drew Peterson was not the man my daughter thought he was. I saw Drew Peterson what he was. Scumbag.
Every life that Drew Peterson has touched, he has seemed to devastate. The scars are lasting and perhaps infinite.
I lost my young daughter at the age of 27 due to drugs.
Kimberly Rains was outspoken in her suspicion and distrust of Drew Peterson from the very beginning. And Christina now realizes her sister had been right all along.
I kind of have not had, such a great couple years. You know, my sister passed, and then me and my ex, after we have 2 kids together, we break up, I move back home. So I'm not really in a good spot right now. But I will be.
The battle has been equally hard on Christina's father, Ernest.
He thought he was untouchable. Nobody could touch him because of the power he had. And I told my daughter, I beat the devil, didn't I?
Say hi.
Hi. A father in Colorado is expected to be charged on Monday. He's accused of killing his pregnant wife and 2 children.
This all-American, beautiful family, the house, the kids. How did it end like this?
Prosecutors say Watts killed his family because of an affair he was having.
He was possessed. He was talking very much about demonic things.
He's on protective custody. Everyone wanted to kill him. He's going to court in a bulletproof vest.
Chris receives pages and pages and pages of mail.
He didn't like to be called a monster, but he is.
There's no material evidence linking him to any of that.
These are some of the letters that I have from Chris. My mom did stand up for Charles Manson, and I'm standing up for Chris Watts.
He had told no one what he had done to the girls. I wanted to get the real full story from him. Christopher Watts told me his true confession about what happened on August the 13th. The details that he gave me were more horrific than I had ever imagined. Can I hold just a second? I'm sorry, this is not going to be good.
I had to get out because it was dangerous.
I probably was used by Chris.
The changes in his face when he would talk about killing his family. Christopher told me things that he wouldn't even tell the FBI.
Like what?
August 13th, 2018. A concerned friend arrives at the Frederick, Colorado home of Shanann Watts after the pregnant mother of 2 misses appointments and fails to return text messages. When Shanann doesn't answer the door, the friend calls police and Shanann's husband, Chris Watts, who rushes home from work. They search the home and call virtually everyone they know. But Shanann and her 2 little girls, Bella, 4, and Cece, 3, are nowhere to be found. The next morning, Chris appears on the local Colorado news pleading for their safe return. And the mysterious case becomes national news.
The morning that they were searching for them, Christopher came onto the front porch and gave an interview. He screamed guilty to me. I could see it in his face and his body language.
It didn't make sense to me because you see this very good-looking male, beautiful wife, beautiful children, beautiful home.
You wouldn't be laughing or smiling if your family was missing.
Chris Watts becomes a person of interest in his wife and daughter's disappearance. 2 days later, after failing a polygraph test, Watts confesses to polygraph examiner Tammy Lee that he killed Shanann because she allegedly murdered their daughters.
Did Shanann do something to them, and then did you feel like you had to do something to Shanann?
He said that gave him the idea that he needed. So he used that as the excuse because Tammy Lee had given him the idea.
She hurt my kids.
33-year-old Chris Watts is arrested and takes a plea deal that allows him to forego a trial. He pleads guilty in November 2018 to first-degree murder and related charges in the death of his wife and young daughters. However, he doesn't confess to killing his girls. Watts is sentenced to 5 life terms without the possibility of parole. Without a trial, many find the lack of public transparency suspicious.
I found it very odd the way the case was handled. I'm Krista Raquello, and I met Chris Watts from writing to him in prison. I've never seen a case in history that somebody took a plea agreement so quickly. A case was completely ended and not investigated. And there's all these different theories because normally this would be going on in a trial for years, and it was only 2 months to this plea agreement. And that's what caught me.
Prisons are familiar territory for the 42-year-old former prison psychologist who recalls visiting her incarcerated father when she was a child.
It makes me feel more comfortable with inmates, and then being a clinical psychologist, I would work in the prisons, so I would see the inside of it.
However, Krista admits that being intrigued by famous criminals is in her DNA.
My mother was always fascinated with Charles Manson from when she was younger. I do think my mom was drawn to my dad because he looked so much like him. Before she met my father, she was on her way to go to the Manson family to live on the ranch with Charles Manson. And then she saw my dad, and my dad saw her, and they just hit it off. It's pretty interesting because my mom did stand up for Charles Manson through all that, and I'm standing up for Chris Watts.
Unconvinced that Chris Watts is the monster in his much-publicized confession video, Krista contacts the true crime YouTube show, Armchair Detective, to offer her prison psychology expertise.
I can't agree with it at all. I don't.
After a few appearances where she kicks around theories in Chris's defense, she decides to write the man himself. But what Krista doesn't yet know is that her interest in Chris Watts will lead to a life-changing union between her, Watts, and his cellmate.
Hello, you have a prepaid call from an inmate at Wisconsin Resource Center.
My name is Dylan Tallman, and my DOC number is 504789. It's what the government labels me as, and Chris Watts is my brother and my co-author.
In early 2020, Dodge Correctional Prison inmate Dylan Tallman discovers that someone new has moved into the cell next door. Dylan doesn't yet know that the stranger's name is Chris Watts. Chris is initially held in a Colorado prison near the scene of the crime, but for safety reasons, he's transferred to Dodge Correctional Institution, a maximum security prison in Wisconsin.
January 9th, 2020, went to the outlet in the wall, but we could hear each other anywhere in our cells.
Through the electrical outlet, Dylan asks the stranger what people call him, fully expecting a nickname.
He just gave me his real name. I gave him my real name. All I'm doing. He said, I'm Chris Watts. I never even heard of him. Never even watched TV for like forever.
According to Dylan, it's against prison code to ask a fellow inmate what they did to get locked up. So he instead asks the man on the other side of the wall of what he is being accused.
He said, well, what they say is, I killed my family.
But Dylan isn't swayed by his neighbor's crime, and they talk for hours on end. One entertaining topic of conversation is the oftentimes bizarre fan mail Chris receives.
I know I'm a stranger, but I care about you and your situation.
You honestly have one of the kindest faces I've ever seen.
For some reason, I find myself caring about how you're doing.
I want to know you so bad, it's not even funny.
I just want to be your friend and let you know you're not alone.
They were weird. They were in his pen pal. They stolen most of them away.
However, in May 2020, there's one particular letter that Chris doesn't throw away. It's from Krista Raquello.
I just wanted to give him hope and not to give up because I just felt he was holding something in.
Did you include anything other than just the letter when you wrote Chris?
When I wrote Chris, I put a picture of myself in so he knew what I looked like, just to know I wasn't, just some crazy girl. But I did. It was a 3-page letter and I put a picture in.
It works in getting Chris Watts' attention, and then a higher power intervenes.
He said he felt like the Lord told him to give that one to me. He's like, man, I think this is one for you, man. I'm like, nah, man, I'm not messing with you and your groupies, man.
Chris Watts encourages his jailmate Dylan to write Krista. So against his better judgment, he does.
Dylan sent me a letter and he said, I'm Chris's brother in spirit. He explained who he was, why he had my letter, why he had my picture, what his intentions were, and if I was willing to write back to him, he would love that. At first, I was a little disappointed because I did want to talk to Chris to let him know about the support and wanting to, help in that way.
Although Krista says she's happy to move forward with Chris Watts' cellmate, her subconscious says otherwise. In her first letter to Dylan, he reads between the lines.
She wrote me, but she indirectly wrote him through me. I wrote back, woman, you said his name 7 times and mine twice. I said, you know what? I'm good.
Dylan fears that his new pen pal is just another Chris Watts groupie. But Krista insists she has no romantic interest in the cold-blooded killer. Dylan ignores his intuition, and the two continue to write each other several steamy pages a day. But soon, matchmaker Chris Watts will enter the picture, and Krista will finally get close to the infamous murderer she's wanted to know all along.
Chris got on the phone and said hello and was like, how are you?
And Chris Watts agrees to meet face-to-face with another pen pal, but this one is no fan. After Chris Watts pleads guilty to first-degree murder, he moves into the cell that adjoins 32-year-old Dylan Tallman's. Dylan has paid a hefty price for his former street life, and he's been locked up on drug-related charges since he was 19 years old.
I'm still doing time from 2007.
For the last 13 years behind bars, Dylan has studied virtually every scripture in the Bible. So he's thrilled when the inmate on the other side of the wall expresses an interest in religion.
We can hear each other anywhere in our room with the acoustics. When we put our chairs next to the wall where there's a plug-in, and you can hear like a phone. He asked me about my faith, and that never happened, so I'm like, okay. We studied and learned and grew together in the scriptures, in spirit and in knowledge.
As the months go by at Dodge, the spiritual brothers bond over prayer and scripture. Religion becomes a coping mechanism for the widely hated inmate.
He's on protective custody. Everyone wanted to kill him. He was going to court in a bulletproof vest and stuff. And he just broke down during that. He prayed to God to take over his life. He said he felt a warm hand on his back. And then since then, he's been studying the Word. And he's like a sponge.
Dylan is already an author, having published his biography called A Blessing in Disguise. So the spiritual brothers begin writing chapters for a prayer book.
It's called God's Plan Book of Books. And then the next one was the 40 Days of Wolf Snow.
From January to July 2020, Dylan says that he and Chris Watts write upwards of 7 books. Dylan sends them to his now girlfriend, Krista, who promises to help get them published.
These letters are so amazing, and the spiritual, religion in it is so powerful. There's no way he could have committed these crimes. And that just reinforces the reason I wrote to him in the first place.
But not all pen pals are created equal. And those books about his newfound faith weren't the first books Chris Watts had ever worked on.
My name is Sherilyn Cadle, and Christopher Watts told me his true confession about what happened on August the 13th, 2018. Actually, Christopher is a very good writer. This was one of the real shockers that he sent me by mail and didn't tell me on the phone or in person, and that was where he had murdered the girls. It was just absolutely a huge, huge shock to me.
Illinois native Sherilyn Cadle is way out of her element. The married grandmother of 12 works in fundraising, but she's always aspired to be a crime writer. And seeing Chris Watts on the news compels her to finally start the journey.
From the very beginning, I just knew that Christopher was guilty. I could not help but to feel a heaviness and felt so much empathy for him, because you could tell he was just someone that had been a really great dad. And when I heard that they suspected the girls had been put into oil batteries, I knew immediately there was no way that Shanann did that.
Because Watts takes a plea deal in mid-November 2018 without having to sit through a trial, he's never publicly confessed to killing his daughters, only that he killed Shanann.
Christopher said that the DA came to them and offered taking the death penalty off of the table if he would just plead guilty.
Watts is sentenced and transferred to Dodge Correctional. Just weeks later, Sherilyn sends him her first letter in February 2019.
He had not even talked to the FBI, and he had told no one publicly what he had done to the girls. I wanted to get the real story from him.
The approach Sherilyn uses in her letter is likely different from the other mail Watts receives. Sherilyn writes, "I'm not writing you to be pen pals. The interview screamed guilty," and, quote, "It would help your family and Shanann's family for the truth to be totally told."
I think Christopher needs the stability of someone helping him realize it's okay to admit this.
After sending 2 more letters, Sherilyn is shocked when Chris Watts sends a reply, and it changes her life forever.
My first letter from him said, "I would like to clear Shanann's name."
I felt like it was God telling me to clear my wife's name since so many people were confused about what happened.
Chris Watts and Sherilyn begin exchanging letters and phone calls until she's able to visit Chris in early April.
They had to lock down all of the hallways in order for him to be brought to where I was at. This was for his protection because people were threatening to kill him. The first time I saw Christopher, they brought him into the room and handcuffed him to the table.
For the first time, Sherilyn finds herself face to face with the most infamous killer in recent history.
He was a little shy, and I was so nervous. I was shaking inside.
To break the ice, Chris tells Sherilyn about his relatively normal childhood and how Shanann was the first girl he'd ever really dated.
He was very smitten by her, and she was very beautiful. And he said the best day of his life that he can remember was his wedding day, just how radiant and beautiful she was.
For 5 hours, Watts talks lovingly about his daughters Bella and Cece and his once happy marriage to Shanann. Sherilyn can't help but feel conflicted for the man who murdered his wife and kids.
You're watching a person who has no control over their life anymore.
In February 2019, the FBI visits Chris Watts in prison, where he finally admits to killing his daughters in addition to Shanann. but he omits some of the excruciating details about how he went about killing them. After a few meetings, Chris begins to reveal to Sherilyn not only what led up to the crimes, but bone-chilling details about the murders themselves that he's never told a soul.
Shanann found out she was pregnant with her third child. Christopher was not so excited about the third baby. In fact, he told me he did not want that child because it interfered with his affair that he had just begun with Nikki.
Chris writes that in the weeks leading up to the murders, he meets an attractive woman named Nicole Kessinger at work in June 2018. Nicole will later tell the Denver Post that Chris eventually tells Nicole that he and his wife are working through divorce proceedings, which wasn't true. But Nicole believes him, and by July, the pair has started a romantic relationship.
And he said he knew that that changed everything for him.
I thought it would be easier to be with Nicole if Shanann wasn't pregnant.
But Chris Watts' most disturbing revelations are yet to come as he tries to explain the unthinkable to Sherilyn.
I can't even begin to tell you the nightmares.
And Krista's public support of Watts brings her closer to the killer, but it drives a wedge between her and her new love. Between April and October of 2019, first-time author Sherilyn Cadle interviews Chris Watts every few weeks at the Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. Just the November before, Watts pled guilty to the murders of his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their two little girls, Bella and Cece.
I had never been in a jail or a prison or anything. I just felt like he would tell me the truth.
The grandmother of 12 knows how to make Watts feel comfortable.
I feel like we built a little bit of a kind of a mother-son type relationship.
Even when the topic is uncomfortable.
I told him, you know, people refer to you as a monster and a murderer, and he did not like those two titles. He didn't want to be called a monster, but he is.
Sherilyn believes Chris is a monster, not only for killing his family, but for the reason he says is behind it. His affair with new love, Nicole Kessinger.
He met this girl at work that was infatuated with him.
You mean a lot to me.
She's the one that pursued him. And in his exact words were he had never been pursued before. And it fed his ego.
Soon after the affair begins, Shanann takes her and Chris's two girls, Bella and Cece, to North Carolina for 6 weeks to visit her family. While his family's away, Chris's affair with Nicole accelerates.
He had told me that their affair grew quickly, feelings grew deep, and he felt as though he loved Nikki and she loved him.
In an alleged attempt to keep up appearances, Watts joins Shanann and the girls in North Carolina on July 31st for the last few days of their trip. And what he allegedly confesses to Sherilyn next absolutely floors her.
The first night that he was there, he had gotten a hold of some oxycodone, and he tried to poison Shanann with a large dose of it. What he had wanted it to do is to cause her to miscarry.
Watts tells Sherilyn that although Shanann became extremely sick, his attempt to make his wife miscarry was unsuccessful.
He could see it in my face, I'm sure, the shock that I was feeling.
Knowing how heinous his actions must sound, Chris invokes religion into their conversations, as if he's a changed man. But Sherilyn believes that Chris uses religion in an attempt to manipulate her and others around him.
I can remember we were sitting at the prison, and he was talking very much about demonic things. I didn't realize until much into the conversation that he was manipulating me into thinking that it was these dark creatures or dark spirit around him that he was blaming for the murders instead of it being him. He was possessed, and that's, I think, how he wanted the narrative to be. He was manipulating me into that, and it almost worked at times.
But Chris's best friend behind bars, Dylan Tallman, says that Chris's interest in religion is genuine. as demonstrated by the hours they spend writing their devotional book. The so-called spiritual brothers also spend a great deal of time together in the prison yard.
We push each other, you know, iron sharpens iron. In basketball, we had that chemistry like Kobe and Shaq. We beat the guys that won the championship there at Dodge. Yeah, I scored like 23, he scored like 11. And I'm not talking points, I mean buckets. We'd go by one, even if it was a 3. He had an 85% shot.
They're definitely two men that protect one another and want to help each other and just have a strong, strong bond and friendship.
But Krista and Dylan are either unaware or don't believe the horrific details of the crime that Chris Watts divulged to author Sherilyn Cadle just a year prior.
The mail going out of the prison is not opened, so he can write whatever he wants and seal it, and it's sent on. So he started writing the letters with some pretty deep confessions in them.
In letters to Sherilyn, Chris writes how he carefully planned out the murders and reveals the tragic details step by step. On August 9th, 2018, Shanann goes away on business, and that's when Watts decides it's time to free himself of family constraints. The night Shanann is set to return, Watts puts his premeditated plan in motion. First, he puts Bella and Cece to bed and waits.
He told me that he knew that was the last time he would ever tuck his babies in.
I couldn't stop myself from what I knew would occur the next morning.
Then around 2 a.m., Shanann comes home from her trip. Watts admits to having sex with Shanann to disarm her. He leaves the room, and unbeknownst to Shanann, he goes to the girls' room to smother them, purportedly because he doesn't want them to hear him murder their mother.
After I left Cece's room, then I climbed back in bed with Shanann, and our argument ensued.
According to Chris's letter to Sherilyn, he doesn't tell Shanann about his affair, only that he no longer loves her. They continue to argue, and Shanann allegedly tells him that if he leaves, he'll never see his girls again. Even though he left his girls for dead, Chris becomes enraged and chooses that moment to murder Shanann.
He told me that he knew where the jugular veins were, how to press on those, and cut off the oxygen to her brain. And he said she blacked out very quickly. And then he continued to murder her.
At one point, Watts tells Sherilyn that he drugged Shanann just as he did in North Carolina. But in another meeting, he changes his story.
So I'm not sure what the truth is there, but I believe he drugged her again. Shanann was a vivacious, tenacious woman. I believe that she would have fought back, and there was no sign that she fought back at all.
Sometime after he murders Shanann, Watts is shocked to discover that his daughters are still alive.
I'm not sure how they woke back up, but they did.
That threw him off of his plan, and he became very upset, very angry. He ended up leaving them in the house while he took Shanann out to the truck. He went and got 2 garbage bags, put one over her feet and one over her head, because he didn't want the girls to be able to see her.
Chris later tells Sherilyn that he then puts his girls into the back seat. It's unclear if they realize their feet are mere inches from their mother's corpse. The rest of the excruciating details are so horrific that Sherilyn still has a hard time composing herself.
Can I hold just a second? I don't want to get emotional.
Watts drives almost an hour to his job site where he works as an oil field operator. There, he plans to dispose of his family. And his cold description of how despondent and frightened his daughters were during the ride strikes a devastating chord with Sherilyn.
He said they leaned on each other, and he realized the girls were comforting each other. I later asked him how he felt seeing his little girls like that, and he said honestly he was so angry he could have killed anything that walked in front of him, that he didn't feel any empathy for his children. He felt nothing for them at all. He got to the oil field. He said, in his words, he rolled Shanann out of the truck. The girls during this time kept asking him, what's wrong with mommy? You know, what are you gonna do with mommy? And he took the blanket and he put it over Cece's head and he smothered her. He says he carried her up the stairs to the oil batteries. There were 2 batteries. He opened the hatch, which was only 8 inches around, and he put her body through that little round hole. He went back downstairs and took the blanket and put it over Bella's head and did the same thing. She was 4.
Watts buries the body of his wife in a shallow grave, a short distance from the oil battery.
I asked Christopher why couldn't they be together, at least in death, and he said he wanted just to get them as far away from Shanann as he could.
Why did he want them to be separate from their mother?
Because he was so angry with Shanann. He, at that moment, hated her so much. He said that she told him that if he left her, he would never see the girls again, and he was not going to have that. But he did separate them because of the hate that he had for her at the time. He just wanted to kill them and have his new life.
Chris Watts has traded a seemingly perfect life for one behind bars that will include isolation, humiliation, sordid headlines, and seething public contempt. Will those who inexplicably remain under his spell finally uncover the monster inside? 2020, convicted murderer Chris Watts is confined to Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. Even among terrifying criminals, Watts is loathed and targeted by other inmates for killing his beautiful family. But according to his prison writing partner, Dylan Tallman, Watts is anything but a dangerous man. The two are so close that when Dylan is punished for breaking a rule, his buddy finds a way to provide Dylan's favorite essentials.
I got room confinement 10 days, so Chris was fishing me food and stuff from next door down a line of down for us. This is called fishing. We cast our lines in there, boom, he throws out, catch it, pull it in, we go under the door.
He felt bad for Dylan because Dylan didn't have supplies, and he gave him supplies.
He looked out for me because nobody else was at the time, and either way, it's just who he is.
In July 2020, Chris Watts comes to Dylan's aid yet again, and this time he purchases personal toiletries like Vaseline that Dylan needs.
I use that on my skin, and I had more hygiene products. I had shampoo, deodorant, toothpaste.
The items arrive with Chris Watts' name on them. But when they're later found in Dylan's cell, he's punished and sent to solitary confinement.
So they put him in the hole for 4 weeks. It wasn't even contraband. It was just hygiene items.
Unfortunately for the two inmates, Watts' act of kindness makes big, embarrassing news.
I was contacted by Daily Mail and OK Magazine because somebody had leaked an incident report regarding a cell search, and property items of Chris Watts was found in Dylan Tallman's cell. That included a brand new clean pair of underwear, a jar of Vaseline, hygiene products, coffee, things like that. And Chris admitted he gave it to Dylan. The pictures that came out, I just laughed because I go, oh my gosh, they're gonna die. It's just that they're really good friends that are helping each other out.
Dylan resurfaces from seclusion and later discovers that Krista has talked to the media, including an exclusive with DailyMail.com. He suspects that Krista is exploiting her connection to the killer, but Dylan overlooks the red flag. He's more upset that his spiritual brother, Chris, is no longer in the adjoining cell.
I felt like somebody had died, and it hurt. Like, as the room was empty, I felt left desolate. That's all I had was Chris.
But the separation doesn't slow the trio down. Chris continues to send Krista and Dylan excerpts for the devotional book they plan on publishing together. In one letter to Dylan, Chris passes on his appreciation for Krista's help. Chris calls her the other Mary.
He wrote,
"Tell the other Mary I appreciate her and everything she is doing for the furtherance of the gospel."
Why do they call you the other man?
Because all of us had a nickname, and they just called me the other Mary from the Bible, for Mary Magdalene. And they call each other TW, Tallman Watts, and it means two witnesses, and that's where the books came from.
Krista is now firmly entrenched in a relationship with Chris Watts and his prison mate, Dylan. When she's not safekeeping passages for their devotional book, Krista and Dylan connect in another biblical sense.
The sex letters, those were, it was fun. She wanted them Greek letters. She's like, send me another one. I'm like, okay.
Over the course of a few short months, Krista and Dylan become engaged. However, due to the COVID pandemic, inmates are not allowed visitors, so they've never met in person.
The fact that I've never physically met him, we've never been intimate with each other. It's literally been letters, phone calls, and Zoom meetings. I feel safer with Dylan and more loved and protected with him than I have with anybody I've ever been with combined in my life.
In a letter to Dylan, Chris Watts endorses the union that he essentially arranged.
He wrote, "Trust me, I didn't find you the woman of your dreams. That was all the will of our Father in heaven."
He didn't allow the letter to be destroyed because it was meant for you. You've got your bride. Now cherish that blessing.
Is the book-writing trio about to become a throuple? And Krista recalls the first time she actually speaks to the man responsible.
Chris got on the phone and he's like, "I hope you're not mad I gave Dylan the letter. Like, I don't think I didn't want to write to you. It wasn't that." I'm like, "It's totally fine. We're good. Thanks for the hookup with your boy. I appreciate it. This is great." And we just started talking and laughing, and he was really nice.
Now, Krista has what she's been wanting all along. A true connection with a notorious killer. But Sherilyn Cadle has heard the darkest details from Chris Watts and isn't fooled. Perhaps testing the boundaries of their friendship, Watts asks Sherilyn a shocking question.
He asked me if he was to get out of prison, would I be comfortable with him babysitting my granddaughter?
Between her prison visits with Chris Watts from April through October of 2019, Sherilyn Cadle and the infamous murderer talk several times a week on the phone. Sherilyn is close to having everything she needs for her book on his confessions and has built a bond of trust with Chris Watts. But she occasionally gets a reminder of how close to home it all really is.
I have a granddaughter who is the same age as Cece, and I think he was kind of intrigued by that. One of the times that he could hear her in the background, he asked me if he was to get out of prison, would I be comfortable with him babysitting my granddaughter? That threw me in a shock. I was very surprised by that because, no. That was my first thought, to him is, I'm sorry, no. He responded with, I would never do anything like that again. And I said, that very well may be true, but my granddaughter is my life, and I would never take the chance with her life for you to do something like that. It was hard for him to hear. I know it was.
One of the reasons Sherilyn remains cautious is because of a sinister bombshell that Watts once divulged. Something that allegedly proves he had deadly thoughts even before his affair.
Christopher said even before he met Nikki, there would be fights. He would go off in his mind about killing her or, how he could do away with her. So when she was yelling and screaming and demanding, his mind would be fantasizing almost about how he could get rid of Shanann.
In the fall of 2019, Sherilyn releases the book, Letters from Christopher. Just over 1 year later, she updates the book to include more letters and releases The Murders of Christopher Watts. It gains traction and buzz in the press, but Chris Watts's primarily female supporters come out of the woodwork to discredit the book.
I've gotten a lot of hate from people that believe Christopher didn't do it, and those people are extremely cruel.
Watts's letters and phone calls to Sherilyn stop, and he goes silent. Sherilyn can only believe that his supporters have convinced Watts that confessing to the extent that he did was a bad idea. Since Watts never disclosed details in court about how he killed his family, the public has been frothing at the mouth for answers. Conspiracy and true crime enthusiasts on social media have turned the case into a murder mystery.
There's so much out there of people that have joined his family and saying he did not commit this murders. It was, planned by other people, or he didn't kill the girls. There's different narratives out there.
As for Chris's jailmate, Dylan, it appears that he's convinced of Chris's innocence, too. Dylan incorrectly believes that his spiritual brother and co-author couldn't have possibly killed Shanann and the girls.
There's no material evidence linking him to any of that. No material evidence. If any evidence links him not to it, except hearsay by himself. Like I said, he don't know what the hell happened. He refers to it as a tragedy. A tragedy. All the stories they have is wrong.
But when asked exactly what Chris has told him about the murders, Dylan refuses to say.
I can't answer that, and even though I want to say it, that's all I'm saying for the record.
But soon, Dylan's greatest fears are realized.
I had to get out because it was dangerous.
And betrayal is brewing among the book-writing throuple. Sherilyn Cadle's book, The Murders of Christopher Watts, is denounced by the killer's legions of supporters, and he cuts off all contact with the author he entrusted with his story.
I actually, at one point, felt betrayed by Christopher because we had an agreement in the beginning, and in the end, some things were tried to make look different than what they were.
As far as that book from Cadle, I will do all that I can to stop the release of it.
Because so many people wanted to believe him, they took it out on me.
The book does well, but repeatedly hearing details about the horrific murders has taken a toll on the first-time author.
When the book was done. I was so weary. There isn't a day that goes by that I do not spend some time dwelling on what happened. And so, my psyche really needed to be protected.
For Dylan Tallman's part, he and Watts still communicate at Dodge Correctional Institution through letters. Dylan is finally released in the spring of 2021 and plans to publish the book that he and Watts wrote together. Dylan continues to be Chris Watts' biggest champion and counsel behind bars.
I asked him, are you fighting? He's like, the Lord led me to fight, and I'm fighting my case.
Dylan was very passionate about getting Chris's truth out. So the fact that Dylan and I got close and, got engaged and have a life together, we were still backing Chris up and we're going to help him and his family.
However, soon after our interview, Krista, Raquello, and Dylan part ways. The YouTube appearances, articles like the DailyMail.com exclusive, and interviews are all too much for Dylan. He now believes that Krista used him to get close to Chris Watts.
I think she just maybe lost her way. The media stuff was getting too important to her. I had to get out because it was dangerous.
Krista gets another blow when, through a text to one of his most vocal online supporters, Chris Watts discredits Krista and denounces their friendship, much like he did to Sherilyn.
Chris knew that I had a platform with Armchair Detective. He knew that I could get information out for people to hear. I feel that it's very possible that he took that and ran with it for what he needed. And what that need is, I don't know. But I look back on it and I'm saying to myself, I probably was used by Chris. Absolutely. And that hurts.
Watts' mistress, Nicole Kessinger, has applied to change her name and has disappeared from public view.
It doesn't make sense. You were having an affair with a married man whose family had this horrific tragedy. I would apologize, and how can I help? That's what I would do, not fall off the grid completely.
Sherilyn Cadle doesn't rule out future communications with Chris, but has no illusions about his future.
I hope that we can write again or talk again. If I can't help him, then it's fine that we just part ways completely. Realistically, the rest of Christopher's life will be in a 5x9 cell. He will die a very lonely man because all of these people that are writing fan letters will disappear. His parents will pass, and he'll have no one.
Casey Anthony has been charged with child neglect and criminal obstruction. The 22-year-old woman allegedly told police she dropped her daughter off with the babysitter in June and hasn't seen her since.
When she first came in, all the other inmates started calling her a baby killer. They started calling her a whore.
My name is Robin Adams, and I was incarcerated with Casey Anthony. I had entertained the thought of suicide. And the day that I met Casey Anthony, my whole life changed. We had a genuine friendship. I felt like I was unjustly being held, so who am I to say that someone else isn't? This is actually a letter from Casey to me. The mail, the marriage proposals, I just never compared my life to hers. How could you?
She was a party girl. She was so attractive.
When I learned who she was,
police have charged Kaylee's mother, Casey, with her murder.
It made me start questioning, why is there no emotion?
She looked at me with a blank stare.
That's the full definition of a sociopath. Casey told me things that she has never told anyone. She said, that's not my daughter. She's like, they're just not looking in the right place. That's not her. I said, did you have anything to do with this? I could see how scared she was of the truth. We're talking about a little baby. Is that the bag? I knew information that no one else knew.
Knowing Casey Anthony did ruin my life.
I've never told this story before. I would spend most of my time counting bricks on the walls and just wondering what I ever did to deserve to end up in a 6x4 jail cell. And the only thing that I had was time. It's still very difficult to talk about. I had lost everything.
In 2008, Robin Adams seemed to have it all. A lovely home near Orlando, Florida, 2 children she adored from a previous relationship, a police officer husband to whom she'd only been married 1 month. But that all changed when an undercover sting revealed her husband was operating an illegal marijuana growing business. When he was arrested, Robin went down with him. She was convicted on drug and weapons charges, her first offense, and was sentenced to 10 years behind bars. It is here she will meet one of America's most infamous inmates, and life will take a very strange turn.
My name is Robin McDonnell, formerly Robin Adams, arrested July 21st, 2008, and I was incarcerated with Casey Anthony.
Casey, why did you wait so long to report your daughter's disappearance?
Where's the baby?
July 16th, 2008. It's been a month since her daughter's disappearance, and Casey Anthony's arrest becomes a major media event. She is charged with giving false statements to police regarding the disappearance of 2-year-old Kaylee. The trial of Casey Anthony will become one of the most followed cases in modern American history, resulting in a verdict that is hotly debated to this day. But to Robin Adams, who arrives at the Orange County Jail just a week after Casey Anthony's arrival, little is known about the pretty young inmate she only gets glimpses of at first.
I didn't even know who she was at first. I remember seeing the search, and George and Cindy pleading on television, on all the news channels, to just bring their granddaughter home.
We know Kaylee's alive, we know she's out there, and we're not giving up.
Casey was never the focus.
To Robin, Casey Anthony is just one of roughly 380 inmates. Younger than most, perhaps. Attractive. Physically fit. But Robin notices early on how Casey seems to be singled out as a target by other inmates.
People would scream at her, call her names, and I never did that. I would just wave to her. I was upstairs and she was downstairs, and we were across from each other. And she would wave to me, and then I would wave back, and you just ask each other if you're doing okay, you know, with hand signals, like, are you okay? And then I would say yes, and then back and forth.
According to jail policy, Casey Anthony is not supposed to have any communication with other inmates because she is in protective custody. So Robin is surprised and flattered when Casey goes beyond mere courtesy to take a personal interest in her.
I don't know why she took a liking to me. She was out one morning and she just signaled to me that she wrote me, and she put it in a book. And then she held up the book and showed it to me.
As an inmate at the Orange County Jail, Robin has limited access to news outlets, so no connection is made to the mysterious young stranger trying to send her a secret note.
I wasn't really sure what her deal was.
Besides, Robin is preoccupied with her own nightmare, from which there seems to be no escape.
When I got sentenced to a minimum mandatory 10 years, 120 months, that was the first and the only time that I had ever even entertained the thought of suicide. Yeah. I had never been in trouble before, never been arrested, never sat in a jail cell. And because of who my husband was, they were not willing to be lenient on me at all. All hopes of me going home to my children are gone for 10 years. Gone. My kids were gonna grow up without me and not have a mom.
Visiting prison today, the haunting memories come flooding back for Robin.
So this is, you could see under here where people had pictures taped, and they had, you know, either toothpaste or something holding their pictures up so when they laid back that they could see their family. You could still see that where the paint is just peeling off because over time, so many pictures have been taken down and put up. God, I remember I used to have so many pictures of my kids. And I would lay down and I would just stare at them and stare at them. God, just praying that I would go home. I never thought that I would do so much time.
In such confinement, inmates yearn for communication and develop crude methods to do so.
Inmates would talk to each other through the vents. They would stand on something to reach the vent. Usually it was over the toilet, and that would echo throughout every cell. Casey used to complain a lot about her not being able to sleep because people would talk in the vents, and of course the sound travels. Everybody heard your business. Everybody heard what you were talking about.
Everyone, including the guards.
My name is Sylvia Gonzalez, formerly known as Sylvia Hernandez. I was the correctional officer that worked at the Orange County Jail, where Casey Anthony was housed. I was the first correctional officer to receive her. They told me she was high profile. They just brought her in. They sat her down at the table. She tried to cross her legs, but she couldn't because of the shackles. And she looked at me with a blank stare. And she waited until I was done with my paperwork. And then I unshackled her. I took her cuffs off and I gave her stuff. She went in her room and she sat down and didn't say a word.
In the interest of safety, Sylvia makes a habit of researching every inmate that comes in. That includes both Casey Anthony and Robin Adams.
I look up every inmate that comes into my dorm to see what I'm working with. Casey Anthony, I didn't even know who she was. I thought she was just a regular inmate until I looked her up.
Sylvia discovers that Casey Anthony, still just a suspect in her daughter's disappearance, lied to investigators when questioned, sending them on a wild goose chase that ends nowhere.
She lied to the cops. She lied to her parents. I was like, this beautiful girl, how can she, kill her own daughter? Robin stood out to me because when she came in, she was a hot mess with her head down, crying. You couldn't really see her eyes. That's how swollen her eyes were. And without even looking her up, without even knowing her, I had this feeling like she shouldn't be there.
This one officer was different. Nothing like the other guards or officers. She was very encouraging and let you know that she cared about you as an individual, not just an inmate.
I am not God to judge. If you treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect. And Robin Adams never disrespected me.
3 women brought together by fate to a place sealed off from the outside world, where secrets begin to emerge.
Their lawyer-client relationship was a bit too friendly for my taste.
And while Robin learns the kind stranger she's been signing to is the mother of the much-publicized missing toddler, she has no reason to suspect foul play. But by the time Casey becomes the most hated woman in America, will Robin already be under her spell?
It was bad. Casey told me things that she has never told anyone.
After an exchange of hand signals from their cells, Orange County Jail inmates Robin Adams and accused murderer Casey Anthony, who have yet to speak, begin exchanging secret letters hidden in a book that gets carded to and from their cells. But communication of this type is strictly forbidden.
We would ask each other, "Did you write me?" "Yes, it's in the book." Casey would take a book, put a letter inside, and then return that to the book card. There was one specific book that we both chose to use, and it was called Let's Do Away with August. And we did become friends in August, and there are no pictures, there's nothing to really draw you in. It was an old, ragged book, and I actually have the original book at home.
In order to keep their burgeoning friendship a secret, Casey and Robin agree to flush their letters down the toilet after they've been read. But Robin quickly begins to cherish their contents, so she starts saving them. Today, some 258 pages survive, many of which have never before been seen on television.
This is actually a letter from Casey to me, one that never got turned in for whatever reason. And this is how we used to communicate.
The letters start off with friendly banter and lighthearted complaints about their confinement.
I'm boycotting my glasses. The sexy librarian look doesn't go well with navy blue scrubs. A shame.
Robin's letters back to Casey are warm and affectionate, and Casey seems to thrive on the positive attention. An unspoken friendship has been established, and they trust that what they've written will remain confidential.
They were both in the same predicament. They were both lonely. And I guess they both knew that they couldn't trust any other inmate.
So Robin and Casey develop code names for each other, as well as for their empathetic prison guard, Sylvia, so as to protect her identity. Robin is Cookie.
She would call me Cookie because the food was so disgusting. That's the only thing I would eat.
Casey is Muffin.
She loved those muffins, and so I would always give her the muffin and she would give me her cookie.
And Sylvia is Shannon.
Her nickname was Shannon because I never wanted any repercussions to fall back on Sylvia. So we just named her Shannon.
Sylvia, AKA Shannon, is charged with keeping the peace among inmates, especially when rumors begin to swirl about why Casey Anthony is there.
They started calling her baby killer. They started calling her whore. That's when I had to go into each dormitory, and I had to talk with each and every one of them. I was like, it's bad enough she's going through this ordeal, so let's act like adults, and let's leave the young lady alone. And so that's when they started realizing how beautiful she was. And they would even tell me, oh, she's beautiful. What is she doing in here? She could have done so much better. She could have done something with her life. She could have been a model. She's so pretty. And I was like, I don't know.
As the case builds notoriety on the outside, Casey Anthony begins to gain admirers.
She had lots of mail. We would bring her bags of mail. She had fans. She had marriage proposals. I mean, she showed me a couple of her letters.
She was getting all kinds of mail from people that she had no idea who they were.
Number 2 takes the cake. Bodybuilder, Italian. Again, very good looking. He sends cards and letters proposing marriage. I'm his princess. He wants to marry me now, and he'll take care of me. Really? Is this what celebrities have to deal with? Yikes.
Casey and Robin are becoming incredibly close. As Sylvia becomes aware of their blossoming friendship, the idea of a romantic relationship between the two naturally enters her mind. Inmates aren't allowed to have sexual contact with visitors or anyone while in custody. But when it comes to sexual activity behind bars, Sylvia has seen her share.
Inmates had a lot of ways of getting away with sex when they go take a shower. If the guard doesn't control the amount of inmates going into the shower, they will go in there up to 10 at a time to throw the guard off while 2 or 3 couples are having sex in the shower. I'm very observant. So I knew by observing them in the day room whose girlfriend with who.
However, there is no evidence to suggest that Casey and Robin's relationship was anything more than platonic.
I was so consumed with so much more that was lacking from my life than intimacy. Casey is pretty notorious for being promiscuous, and I would say if it was suppressed, that would be an understatement. And I do feel like her relationship with Jose Baez was a definite outlet to find that intimacy again.
Jose Baez, Casey Anthony's high-profile attorney, pays frequent visits to the Orange County Jail. While there is no evidence to suggest there was an inappropriate relationship between them, Sylvia and Robin have their suspicions.
Their lawyer-client relationship was a bit too friendly for my taste, a bit too friendly. As soon as I would say, Casey, get ready, Jose Baez is here to see you, her eyes would light up. She would smile. She would go in the mirror and, start doing her hair, getting herself ready and making sure her blues were clean. And I was like, wow, she really wants to see this one.
She loved him. She was very much in love with him. But he was married and had a kid, and at the time his wife was pregnant. Casey was not happy.
Casey and Robin offer comfort to each other in their letters.
We were both in that same situation where we had nothing to turn to. We had no one to believe in, no one to trust.
In Robin's case, she finds the betrayal by her husband the hardest of all to accept.
My husband of a month was an undercover narcotics agent that had gone bad. He was doing some illegal things under the table that even I didn't know about until the Friday before we were arrested. I don't think that I deserve to go away for a minimum mandatory sentence of 10 years. That's been the hardest part for me to deal with, is that he never tried to stand up for me in any way.
Casey's support and sympathetic ear come at the height of Robin's vulnerability. But when other inmates catch on to this friendship, they attempt to intervene.
There was an inmate there serving a life sentence, and she saw that we were passing letters in the book, and she, with hand signals, just said, she pointed downstairs and said she killed her baby.
But Robin has no reason to believe what she deems is just a prison rumor.
It wasn't until I called my dad one night and he asked if I was having any kind of interaction. I told him that I was, writing letters back and forth to this girl, Casey Anthony. And I think he said, holy, you need to be careful.
Robin is made aware that Casey is a suspect in her daughter's disappearance. But by that point, she gives her best friend in lockup the benefit of the doubt.
Even then, it was the baby. They still could not find Kaylee. The story was that she was still with Zenaida Gonzalez. She was still with the nanny.
Zenaida Gonzalez is the name Casey gives to police of a babysitter she claims kidnapped Kaylee. Detectives will determine that no such babysitter ever existed.
I felt like I was unjustly being held, So who am I to say that someone else is or isn't? But we were already writing, I was already just happy to have that companionship with someone. We had that mutual understanding that we just wouldn't judge each other.
As secret letters to Robin begin to flow from Casey Anthony's hand, they become more and more personal and unfiltered. She even describes in detail sexual abuse she claims she suffered at the hands of her brother.
I woke up night after night with my sports bra lifted up over my chest. Or if I had on a regular bra, it would be unhooked.
These allegations have never been corroborated. In the same letter, Casey implies that her father also abused her, which her family will vehemently deny. But knowing that anything she says has the ability of getting out, is it possible she's using Robin to test out her future defense in court? Now that Casey has shared alleged childhood secrets with Robin, their sisterly bond is stronger than ever. But communication through clandestine letters is no longer cutting it. Casey and Robin crave face-to-face contact, which is against the rules. So they use the kindness of guard Sylvia Hernandez to their advantage, and ultimately, to her downfall. And later, the red flags in Casey's letters become more than Robin can ignore.
If my son or daughter is missing, I'm not going to wait to report them missing. That in itself was a red flag. What did you mean?
After roughly 3 months in county jail for child neglect and obstruction of justice, Casey Anthony is indicted for the murder of her daughter Kaylee in October 2008. Unaware of this, fellow inmate Robin Adams has been secretly communicating with Casey, her new best friend, through letters smuggled in the pages of a book.
I never believed that she was responsible for Kaylee at first. The story was Kaylee just didn't come home one night from Zenaida's house, the babysitter. But she knew that she was okay, knew that she was safe.
Robin yearns to meet Casey face to face, and the only person who can arrange that is Correctional Officer Sylvia Hernandez. And only then, by bending the rules.
I remember one time I just asked her if I can talk to Casey.
She was like, Officer Hernandez, can I speak to Casey really quick?
And she said, yeah.
And I was like, sure, go ahead. But then keep it moving because you got to take a shower and then you got to come back before the supervisor comes and catches you there. I don't want to get in trouble and I don't want you to get in trouble.
This is against policy. But Sylvia, it turns out, at least to Robin, is the guard with a heart of gold.
She did have a heart of compassion, and she was human and wasn't afraid to show it.
She's a mother of 2. She just got married. I worked, enough years with inmates to know who's genuine and who's not genuine. And Robin was genuine. I felt her warmth. I felt her humbleness.
She just allowed us to have that interaction with each other.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I let her talk to Casey Anthony because they were friends.
When I first met Casey, person to person, we held hands and we just talked and we both cried, and it was just a stressful time. And being able to have someone else there with you as you go through this stressful time, it was something I was extremely grateful to have.
You're the only person I trust here.
Casey and I had lots of talks about why she was there and about why I was there.
Casey proclaims her innocence to Robin, but she tends to do it in legal terms rather than in human and emotional ones.
One of my attorneys said it best. This case isn't circumstantial. It's completely speculative. Look at other missing persons cases. Name one that hasn't had something that seems odd.
Maybe Robin just didn't want to believe that her jail friend could have killed her own child. So when word gets out that Robin and Casey are friends, other inmates react viciously. The two are ostracized, but Robin sticks by her new friend.
She would walk to the showers and people would scream at her, murder, and she never talked back to them. She never stood up for herself. She always stayed quiet, and it did not faze her at all. Well, I'm sure it did. She just didn't let it show.
At least, not to Robin.
There was one night, I don't know if it was a letter that she read or if it was something about her case. All I know is that she was making a lot of noise and throwing everything around her cell. Books, the magazines, all the letters, all over the place. And I'm like, are you okay? She was like, I'm fine. She sat down, crossed her legs, and that's it. She didn't say anything else to me.
There was nothing that Casey and I didn't talk about. We would talk about everything. Everything.
But with Casey's increasing candor comes disturbing red flags regarding her missing daughter.
Casey wrote to me, I was going to take Kaylee and move away. Unfortunately, my plans got beyond tangled when Zanny wouldn't tell me where she and Kays were. I had asked her to take Kays for a few days so I could put all of our stuff together. Money I had saved, new clothes, new everything. That's why I waited to report her missing. If my son or daughter is missing, I'm not gonna wait to report them missing just because I'm trying to buy new clothes for them and, make arrangements to move away. That in itself doesn't make sense. So that was a red flag. What did you mean?
But this is only the beginning of behavior that starts to cast doubt in Robin's mind about the innocence of her close friend. And something is about to happen that will turn the entire case upside down.
I knew information that no one else knew.
Do you know what that information was?
I do.
Orange County Jail, Orlando, Florida, 2008. Robin Adams, imprisoned on a marijuana charge, has developed a secret sisterly bond with Casey Anthony. Robin, who's been locked up and unable to watch the news, has learned from her father that Casey is the main suspect in her daughter's disappearance.
Now the focus is on her. She was on the cover of People magazine, and she showed me all of that. No, she's like, I never asked for any of this. She wasn't upset.
The prison guard looking after both women, Sylvia Hernandez, has violated policy by allowing them time together.
I didn't understand what was the problem of, Casey talking with Robin or Robin talking with Casey. They weren't harming themselves. They weren't doing anything. So I let them talk with each other.
Through secret letters and forbidden meetings, the two women have formed an almost sacred bond of trust. They even make plans to drive across America when they're released. But as time passes, Robin begins to see cracks in Casey's otherwise steadfast denial that she harmed her daughter. She's particularly uncomfortable that Casey never reported her daughter missing after being gone a month, but that Casey's mother was the one who made the report.
I never got the feeling that Casey was worried about the whereabouts of Kaylee.
Then, in late November, comes a potential breakthrough in the case.
During my 1 hour out, I remember I went to go watch TV. It was like Sex and the City or something. And then when that ended, the officer didn't come back and get me right away. I saw the first few minutes of the 11 o'clock news. And that's when I saw that divers found a bag of bones in this river. And they were questioning if it was possibly Kaylee Anthony. When I came back in, Sylvia let me talk to Casey, and I said, hey, they just found a bag of bones in the river, and they're questioning if the remains might be Kaylee's. Casey never hesitated. She said, that's not my daughter. She's like, they're just not looking in the right place. That's not her. I said, okay.
They're not gonna find the body because they're not looking in the right place. And I was like, I don't wanna hear anything, Casey.
That was when the flags started to come.
But just weeks later, on December 11th, 2008, 3-year-old Kaylee Anthony's skeletal remains are found wrapped in a blanket inside a laundry bag in a wooded area near the Anthony family's home. And this time, Casey's reaction is very different.
When they gave her the news that they found Kaylee's remains, it was bad. They took her to medical. She couldn't breathe. She was having an anxiety attack, a panic attack.
She didn't act like a regular mother where, oh, they found my daughter and she's dead. You know, crying, bawling. No. Her behavior at that time was like, oh, I got caught.
I think she was scared.
Around this time, authorities discover that Robin has been a confidant of Casey's and have questions for her. They do not yet know that the jailmates have exchanged hundreds of pages of letters.
Apparently, I knew information that no one else knew.
Do you know what that information was?
I do. When Orange County investigators asked what I knew about Kaylee Anthony, I said I only knew what Casey told me. And they said, well, what was that? I said, just that they had found her in a laundry bag wrapped in a Winnie the Pooh blanket. That information wasn't even out.
Viewing photographic evidence from the case today, Robin sees for the first time an image of the bag Kaylee was found in.
Is that the bag? That bag was like really hard for me to look at. Now I understand why the investigators brought me in to be a part of this case. I didn't know really what was right or wrong anymore. We're talking about a little baby, a 2-year-old baby girl, and her life was taken from her.
Robin now believes her friend is a killer, and she has information that might help solve the mystery of Kaylee's death. Will she betray her best friend behind bars? After nearly 9 months at the Orange County Jail, Robin Adams is preparing to be transferred to a federal prison in Tallahassee to serve out the remainder of her 10-year sentence on marijuana charges. But before she goes, she has one last question to ask Casey Anthony, one she has never asked her point blank.
I asked her the night that I was leaving, the night I knew I was being transferred. I said, did you have anything to do with this? And she paused for a minute and she held my hand and she just shook her head no.
Did you believe her at that time?
No. No, I did not. We never talked after that again.
In April of 2009, Robin Adams is transferred to a federal prison in Tallahassee. A week later, prosecutors announced that they will seek the death penalty against Casey Anthony. At some point prior to Casey's trial in 2011, another inmate at Orange County comes forward with the knowledge that Robin and Casey were pen pals. The implications are huge for the two, as well as correctional officer Sylvia Hernandez, who helped facilitate their communication.
They knew that I had correspondence from Casey, and they knew that an officer was allowing us to speak. Then they said, and if you are withholding any information from us, then we can charge you with withholding information on a homicide investigation. And the term for that was 5 years. Well, I'm not gonna do another 5 years. I'm also not going to release the officer's name without having an attorney present, and that's exactly what happened.
Investigators subpoena the letters, and Sylvia is suspended for breaching policy pending an internal investigation.
I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I told them, yeah, I let him talk through the beanhole. Yes, I let her cut Robin Adams' bangs because she was looking a hot mess and she was going to court and she wanted to feel good about herself. So why not make her feel human? After their so-called investigation, they determined that they were gonna terminate me.
The revelation that secret jail letters from Casey Anthony exist is leaked to the media. And Robin and Sylvia suddenly find themselves a part of the news. Sylvia herself faces potential charges stemming from her allowing Robin and Casey to communicate behind bars.
I never wanted any repercussions to fall back on Sylvia.
They were just trying to nail me for anything. And when we got there to the hearing that day with the chief was like, why are we here? Because he started reading the reports. He was like, are we here for passing ladders? So the chief got really upset and said, we are wasting county money and county time on this. Give this young lady what she needs. And I said, Chief, what I need is for my termination to be reversed to resignation. And he was like, are you sure you don't want to go back to work? I was like, I'm going into law enforcement. So he told them, give this lady her resignation. And he even shook my hand and gave me a hug, wished me the best of luck, and stated, if you ever want to come back to Orange County, you're more than welcome.
Then came the trial. I was brought back to Orange County for Casey's trial. And that's where I sat for well over 3 months, waiting for her trial to start and then desperately waiting for it to end.
Robin is never called to testify, nor does she communicate with Casey during this time. Casey's trial is a national spectacle. When the jury takes less than 11 hours to find Casey not guilty of all felony charges, the public is shocked.
Somewhere out there, the devil is dancing tonight.
The lack of evidence and the doubt raised by defense attorney Jose Baez is enough to win an acquittal. Back in prison in Tallahassee, Robin records her reaction to the verdict in a journal. She is, quote, outraged that she was cleared of all charges, end quote, especially since Robin herself is serving 10 years for, quote, a trumped-up case of marijuana seeds.
Oh, she was always confident that she would be released and that she would not be charged with anything.
Casey Anthony knew how she did. She knew how to move. Until the end result, she got what she wanted.
Since Casey's confidential letters are ultimately not used against her, Robin receives no benefit from turning them over to authorities. The years crawl by as Robin serves out her sentence at a Tallahassee, Florida prison, and she misses her children immensely.
It was like having a hole cut right through your heart and having a cold wind blow right through it. And that's how I lived for a really long time.
She is finally released on October 15th, 2016. Now, unbeknownst to Robin, and after more than 12 years without contact, she is about to be reunited with the prison guard who showed her compassion during her darkest days.
Oh my God! Oh my God! You changed! Oh my God! How are you? Oh my God! Oh my God! You're so beautiful. Thank you. You're gonna make me cry, girl. You're gonna make me cry. I just don't want to let go of you.
I looked for you.
Yeah.
I did. I looked for you.
I moved from there, from Groveland.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got divorced, so I went back to my last name and...
Reunited as friends instead of guard and inmate, Robin and Sylvia immediately gravitate to the one person who inexorably links them, Casey Anthony.
I carried that weight of knowing the truth, but I was instantly discredited because I was an inmate.
To date, Robin has never looked for Casey, preferring instead to put that chapter of her life in the rearview mirror. Revisiting the jail environment one final time together is difficult for both Robin and Sylvia.
It's just like the room I was in for so long. I don't like this.
But free of prison bars and the lies of someone she once called friend, Robin has gained perspective into what freedom really means and how it differs between her and Casey Anthony.
I'm home. I have my children. I have my family. I have someone I love so deeply that stands by my side every second of every day. What more can anyone ever ask for? There's always clear skies ahead.
Since Casey Anthony was acquitted on murder charges and no other suspect has been arrested, it is unlikely we will ever know exactly what happened to Kaylee or why. Both Robin and Sylvia have their theories.
I feel like the death of Kaylee was an accident. I feel like the disposing of her remains was definitely premeditated.
I think it was probably intentional. She was so busy wanting to go out party. At the same time, her mother was down her throat to be more responsible. And because the mother loved the baby so much, I think it was intentional.
That's interesting that you would say that you thought it was intentional, because you and I have never talked about it.
I know.
Ever.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you would think that it was intentional.
In many ways, their differing opinions reflect those of millions of Americans. To this day, Casey has both supporters and detractors.
Even if Casey was not found guilty of murder, she definitely escaped the judicial system.
She did.
People may never get the truth. If she does carry that guilt, I believe that she's determined enough to not allow anyone else to see it. I think that people can live freely outside of their prison cell and never truly be free.